There's just something about a big heist that really grabs you, right? Like the guts it takes, the planning, the whole thing. It's like, you're in a movie with huge stakes and the good guys and bad guys aren't so clear anymore.
Yeah, for sure. It's like those stories really get to us because, well, we all kind of want to beat the system sometimes, right?
Right.
Do something a little forbidden. And then there's all the questions that just keep hanging around after everything's settled.
That's exactly it. And that's what we're getting into today, like really deep into the most famous heists ever. The ones that are almost legends now. The masterminds, the fortunes that vanish, the mysteries that nobody's figured out.
Yeah, we got three really cool cases lined up, each one different, and with its own questions nobody's answered that people still argue about today.
Totally. We'll start back in '63, the Great Train Robbery in the UK. Then we'll hop over to Boston, the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum, still unsolved from '72. And to wrap it up, JFK Airport, the Lufthansa heist in '78, gritty and intense. So our goal is to dig up what's really important about these things, the crucial parts, the main players, and all those puzzles that just stick with you. Think of it like your express pass to get why these crimes are still so fascinating. So okay, let's get started. First stop, that classic British one, the Great Train Robbery.
Yeah, so what's really interesting about the Great Train Robbery is, well, just how big and bold it was. Back in '63, a gang of 15 guys, they actually stopped a Royal Mail train. And this wasn't something they just, decided to do on the spot. They planned it out super carefully.
And they got away with a ton of money for that time, like 2.6 million pounds. And if you think about how much that is now, it's like over 50 million, a crazy amount.
Exactly. That shows how ambitious they were. And, well, the main guy was Bruce Reynolds. People see him as this charming mastermind, kind of a symbol of the whole rebellious thing in the '60s. You also think maybe his personality was why he could get a big group together and lead them.
That's interesting, right? Was that charm just what the media made up, or did it actually help him organize and motivate so many criminals? It makes you think about how much personality matters in those huge operations.
Oh, for sure. It's got to be a mix. Reynolds definitely cultivated an image, but the whole thing, the logistics and the coordination, it shows he could really lead and strategize. And the missing millions, well, that tells us they planned for the long term, not just the robbery itself. It makes you wonder if, the real success wasn't just getting the money, but disappearing with it, too. Maybe the authorities underestimated them.
You got it. The crime was wild, but all that missing money just adds to the mystery. Makes you think about, the long game these guys were playing. Okay, let's switch gears. Head over to the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum, Boston, in '72. This is a whole different kind of crime, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, completely different. The Great Train Robbery was all about cash. This one, it was irreplaceable art. 13 pieces gone, and if you try to put a price on them today, over $500 million. Think about that. $500 million of art history just gone.
And unlike the train robbery, this one, well, it's still a total mystery, right? Decades later, nobody arrested, no artwork found. It's kind of mind-blowing.
Yeah, it is. No real leads. After all this time, that's what makes it so strange. Theories. Oh, tons of them. People pointing fingers at big crime groups, the ones with connections and resources that regular thieves could only dream of. But nothing solid. So the question is, how could such famous, valuable stuff just vanish like that? Poof.
Right. You'd think a museum like that would be like Fort Knox. And it makes you think about the black market for stolen art, which is kind of scary. Who's buying these world-famous paintings that they can never, ever show off in public?
Exactly. Most people think there's not really a big open market for stolen art that famous because, well, everyone knows it. But these pieces haven't shown up anywhere, so what does that mean? Maybe there was someone who loves them but doesn't know where they really came from. Or, like you said, maybe they were stolen for something else entirely, like a bargaining chip in some other shady deal.
It's a real head-scratcher in the art world, a true cold case.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, from fancy art museums in Boston, let's jump to the rough world of JFK Airport in '78, the Lufthansa heist. This one, like we said, was way more dark and violent.
Yeah, no doubt. The other heists were planned out, mysterious, but Lufthansa, it's famous for how brutal it was. They got a good chunk of money, $5 million in cash, almost $1 million in jewelry. But what really makes it different is what happened after.
Right, the guy behind it was supposed to be James Burke, a seriously scary figure from the New York mob, like the guy in Goodfellas. And it wasn't just about the money, was it? It feels like it was about control, getting rid of anyone who could be a problem.
Yeah, Burke was known for being ruthless, like no hesitation when it came to violence. And what's crazy and disturbing is all the people who died or disappeared, after the Lufthansa heist. Anyone connected to it? Poof. It shows how brutal organized crime is, how far they'd go to protect their loot. This wasn't just a robbery, it was like a spiral into violence and paranoia. You really think about the choices these guys made, how desperate they were, and it's not glamorous anymore, it's just sad and scary.
Yeah, it's a way different picture than the romantic idea we have of these big heists.
Hmm.
This was raw, violent, and for a lot of them, it was self-destruction. So looking at these three very different cases, it makes you wonder, what pushes people to do such crazy things? Is there some psychology that connects someone like Bruce Reynolds, whoever pulled off the Gardner theft, and a tough guy like James Burke?
That's the big question, isn't it? The sources talk about a couple of main reasons. One is, well, the thrill, beating the system, feeling smarter than the cops, doing something nobody thought you could do. It's a huge game with the highest stakes.
Like a real-life puzzle with, like, life or death stakes, like the source mentioned?
Yeah, exactly. The other big reason is desperation. Like, these people believe this is the only way out, to escape being broke or a life they hate. But of course, it usually ends up way worse than they thought. And what's interesting is these reasons, sometimes they show us what's wrong with society in general, right?
Mm-hmm.
Inequality, no opportunities, people not trusting authority.
That's a good point. These extreme things, maybe they're like a messed up mirror showing us the problems we have. So let's look at some other big names in crime that the source talks about: Albert Spaggiari and the Pink Panthers. These three cases we talked about, they show us different times and styles of high-stakes crime. But there are other legendary figures and groups who made history.
Spaggiari, now that's a real crime legend. Robbing a bank in Nice in '76, that was already pretty bold. Digging a tunnel into a vault. But what made him famous was his escape right out of a courtroom window. It was like a performance, him saying screw you to the system, using his brains and guts. People loved it. It's that thing we have. We love a good escape artist, someone who can break free from anything.
Yeah, it's that showmanship, that flair that makes us pay attention. And speaking of flair, there's the Pink Panthers. Not just one person, but like a secret group, almost mythical, of jewel thieves. They're famous all over the world for crazy, precise heists.
The Pink Panthers are interesting because it's almost like art, the way they do crime. Super detailed planning, studying their targets like crazy, using disguises, doing bold stuff. It's so sophisticated, it's kind of scary. And the source mentions some of the crazy things they've done. They're so skilled and coordinated, it's almost unheard of.
Like that crazy story, using a milk carton to hide a $30 million diamond. You kind of have to admire how clever it is, even though it's totally illegal.
It's that mix of like making do and being daring that makes their stories so interesting. And it shows how these big crimes are like a performance. You know, they're not just stealing, they're putting on a show.
And we can't forget that other story, the great train robbery guys playing Monopoly with the stolen money. It's funny in a dark way, but also kind of creepy, right? They're just playing around with millions of dollars they stole.
It's like they don't even get it, the consequences of what they did. Maybe they felt invincible for a little while.
So putting all this together, what's the main thing we learn from looking at these heists? What's important about them, besides just the stories?
If you think about the big picture, these heists, what's fascinating isn't just the crime itself. It's the mysteries they leave behind, the big questions they ask about us, about justice, and the stories that people create about them. These stories stick with us. They make us think about what's possible, what makes people do these things.
Yeah, they make us question everything, don't they? Our morals, how we see justice, even what's considered a crime. We're drawn to them, but also kind of freaked out by them.
So here's a question for you, our listener. Thinking about these different heists, which part stuck with you the most? The planning and precision of the Great Train Robbery, the mystery and the stolen art of the Gardner Museum, the dark side of the Lufthansa heist, or maybe those daring figures like Spaggiari and the Pink Panthers. And more importantly, why do you think those specific parts are still so powerful? Why do they capture our imaginations?
And going beyond these specific cases, think about those tips for true crime enthusiasts the source gave us. Questioning what you hear, checking original sources, following the money, looking for patterns, getting different perspectives. Those ideas, they're not just for true crime, right? How could you use those same skills, that way of thinking, in your own life? Your work, something you're passionate about, even just dealing with all the information we get every day.
And building on that, think about the outside-the-box tips. How has technology changed heists now? Think about cybercrime and all the vulnerabilities we have online, and think about how these historical events have influenced us. Movies, books, even pop culture. It makes you think about how these crimes, even though they happened a while ago, are still affecting us, and how the way people pull off these things keeps changing.